Hi.
Thank you so much for coming onto my podcast.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love podcasts. I've actually been listening to podcasts for like the last, I don't know, like 2013. So it's super cool to finally be a part of one. It's been like a dream of mine. You're making this come true.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm so excited. And it's definitely a dream come true for me because I binge everything like that you produce
Oh,
on YouTube. But I thought it would be nice if you could introduce yourself, so like your name and where people can find you. And I always ask people, who do you want to follow you? So if you could like describe the kind of person that should follow you, so and then you guys can match each other.
that is a super awesome question. I like people who question everything. I think like anybody
Energy.
who can pick apart anything that seems like a sure thing, whether it's like a pop culture thing or anything. I wouldn't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but I believe that nothing is face value. And that's kind of what my channel is always about. It's always about, okay, sure, this looks like this, but what do we really think it is? Because nothing's ever what it seems like. So anybody who's into pop culture and just kind of wants to, I don't know, like really just think deeper than, oh, this is just a song or this is just a video and want to know why things work and why they don't. It's kind of like surgery in a way. So those type of people, like kind of music nerds, pop culture.
Yay, I love that you said that. I have
Yeah.
a friend of mine called Faye who I just did a podcast episode with. And she was talking how the whole concept of how it's okay to have a trash album, and she was like, "It's okay, just have your trash album.
Is
We'll pick you apart, and then we'll all move on." But it just made me laugh because she's always talking about like speaking her mind, and she speaks about pop culture, and I thought of the two of you. So what handles, what's your name online? Where do people find you?
I'm 20 Days of June everywhere. I know a lot of people like the name, but I don't know. When I was making a Tumblr when I was 18, I'm not that creative with names. So that's just what came about. And that all my social media has always been that. So that's just where you find me. You look it up anywhere, I'm there.
I love it. I think it's such a cool name.
It
I
works
thought I
out.
was like,
It works out. It works out.
so
I've worked it to
edgy
a
and
point of
sweet.
where it makes sense. It's a little less weird.
No, I like that. So you mentioned Tumblr. I feel like I missed Tumblr because I don't know. I knew people were doing it, but I wasn't doing it. But I was just wondering, do you, as a person who is saturated in Tumblr, do you feel like there's still remnants of like Tumblr culture today? And is it like in different forms? Like, do you think Instagram is anything near it, or is it just like it's completely gone?
It's not Instagram that's like it. It's Twitter that's like it. But there was a piece of Tumblr that was a bit deep web. So people like when you came to Tumblr, you weren't looking to find people that you knew. And it's almost like if you wanted to hide your face, you really could do that without it being weird. Like on Twitter, when you
Mm,
have a Stan account, you literally say, I don't have an identity. Because on Twitter, you're supposed to have an identity. Like you're supposed to be
mm,
somebody to market yourself. On Tumblr, it wasn't about who you were, it was about what you like. And so, because of the way the format was, I actually met one of my best friends, Stefan, on Tumblr, but it's like you just got to know people because there was no judgment. You were just putting forth and reblogging things that you genuinely found funny or attractive or beautiful. So it was a very genuine platform because of the anonymity. So it helped kids
mm.
who maybe weren't like the loudest kids in the room be okay with expressing themselves in any capacity. And so there are pieces of it that still exist as far as the stand culture of it all. I feel like the bones were really built on Tumblr for what's going on
Of the
now.
bones of stan culture were built on
Were
Tumblr.
built on Tumblr for real, for
Mm.
real, for real. As far as what it is now, as far as like we used to do like street team stuff for your fave. You'd be making gifts. I'm trying to be first for like edits and like we
Yes,
used to
I
be at
love that.
war. Like yeah, it was nuts and it was super fun. It was some of the I
I
love
love
growing up on
that.
Tumblr. Yeah, so Twitter's a little different. It's a little bit more identity driven. It's a little bit more doing it for the gram. It's a little more fake.
Mm.
Tumblr
I
was just
hate
kind of like,
that.
I mean, but that's the world. What are we gonna do? Cry about it? Like everything's
I
fake.
know. I know.
Everything
I
is
think
fake.
I'm really the kind of person because some more context, you might have seen it from all of my tweets and whatever. So I'm training to become a barrister in England.
I've seen that. I have.
And pardon me. So it's like such a rigid tradition. It is, if everything everyone imagines about England and like all of these like posh people speaking in this way, barristers are the elite of the English elite.
Yeah.
So as a profession, it's always been so like fixed in what it is. So when you have like barristers using Twitter and whatever, it's not the same
It
because
is
it's
not.
like everyone's using it, but with
Right.
an edge.
Right.
Whereas with me, I like to just come on and be weird. And like sometimes
Yeah.
out of nowhere, I want to just
Yeah.
be like, this is the greatest rap line I've heard of all time.
Right.
And if you like, and I just want to say stupid stuff like that, but you can't because you've got to have a brand identity that,
Exactly. Tumblr,
and
there
it's
was
like,
no agenda. There was no agenda, which is like, this is what I think is cool. And I think in a way, 20 Days of June was built there because I kind of did use that as like a personality testing ground. Like I was just outlandish and I was wild, but I had
I
the
love
ability
it.
to. And on Twitter, it's more or less like, "Oh, I don't know, this kind of matters, or do am I trying to start this fight, or will this never go away?" Meanwhile, on Tumblr, it was more or less like it was so hard to track, hard to find. Things had to be in tags. Twitter is just Front Street, so and everybody has one now. So
That.
you have to be a little more careful. We were not careful on Tumblr.
No, but I do like the way you tweet, and I love all of your, like, I just love your energy. Like, I think it's really
Oh, thank
funny, and I like how direct you are. And that kind of brings me on to the next thing I wanted to talk to you about.
you.
So, some more random context about me. I wasn't actually born in England. I was born in a country called Botswana in Southern
Oh yeah,
Africa.
I know where Botswana is. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
you know it. Nice. So my family's originally Zambian. So I came to England when I was like 4. So, and English was like my like third or fourth language at that point.
So smart.
But I've always been like on it, like with like absorbing things around me
Hmm.
and like absorbing culture and things like, so I would fit in. So I learned how to speak like this. So this accent that I currently have, I manufactured myself by watching the news. Like, because all the kids at school were making fun of me and they were like, why do you
Right.
talk like
Yeah.
that? You sound like an
Yeah.
African kid. So I said, all right, screw you. So I just copied the way the news people spoke. But musically, I've always been into music, and literally I religiously consumed, what were the albums? I think Usher's Confessions album,
You have
Emancipation of
American music
Me.
identity. I know, but I
Yeah.
realize people do that sometimes. Like LMA does not sing like an English woman at all.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and a lot of people couldn't understand why she does that. Whereas with me, I was like, I
I get it.
completely get it.
Yeah.
And it's
That's not
always
hard to pick up. I think a lot of people are just ignorant. Like, okay, I listen to music, so when I sing this way, but when I speak this way. I think that people put too many limits on things. Like I like the fact that you came and you already spoke 3 languages as a child is much more impressive than me hearing that you sing in an American accent. It's like, bro, a person who can learn 3 languages can probably do a lot of things. It's okay.
oh, thank you. So the point I wanted to ask you
Mhm.
is, so I feel like I've absorbed your culture as like a sort of like
A marker.
third
Yeah, yeah.
party, just like taking it in because it's still black. I'm still black. It
Right,
still
of
reaches
course.
me. But I was just wondering for you, and this is because this is at the end of the day, like it is your culture. Like, how did you get this encyclopedic knowledge that you've got of everything? Like, was it just through listening, or is it because it's coming from people who come from circumstances that you know that it fits better? I was just wondering.
I think it just comes from I have never been able to make myself interested in anything. Anything that my brain focuses on, it like target locks it like a rocket and just shoots directly into it. So like if I'm interested, I need to know things. So I'm kind of just like a nerd and a bookworm that I've always been. Never really judged myself for my interest or whatever I'm interested in. It's just that if you're going to be interested in it, you need to know it. And so I just do. Like I just find those things that I care about and I really care about them, and things that I don't care about, I kind of just really don't. And that's why it's kind of hard because people will try to demand a video out of
No,
me. I'm like, I will cut
that's
on that camera
true.
and I will say nothing. If I'm not interested
I'm
in it,
exactly the same.
if I'm not interested in it, it's not going to happen. Like I have to care to be able to speak about it, which is tough because I wish sometimes I could just do the thing, but I try and it doesn't really come out the way I want to. So I don't think I know a lot about everything. I just think I know how to speak about the things that I do know and shut up
Mm.
about the things that I don't. So it
No, it's
also
true. But you have impressed me. So I started watching your channel, like I said, what was it, 2017? Because it was just after Sheetha dropped, and I was so irritated because I was like, if I have to sit, I think I even stopped watching YouTube because I got tired of everybody. I was like, all of you, you're just so gassed over the fact that somebody was rude to Nicki Minaj. Like, I
yeah,
want
that's really
someone
what
to
it
get
was. It was
into
like you
this.
want to hear knocked off her high horse.
Yeah, like I was like, I want someone. So I was so irritated with like life, and then I found your video, and I was like, oh god, another Sheetha video, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this. And then I clicked it, and then I was like, oh my god, we stand.
You want to know a fun fact about that time?
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I wish I could go back and I could do that time again now because
Really?
I loved when something is going on and everybody gets this monolithic. When there's a war going on, people choose a side.
Mm.
So that with Drake and Meek, people said it being on Drake's side was smart, and they left Meek in the dirt. like,
Oh
so
my gosh, Meek
yeah,
really got
got
like
left,
left behind.
they picked him back up, but he got left. So during that time, I was seeing a lot of people turn. And I remember making a conscious choice to be like, well, Brendan, you've been building your bones for this, you know what I mean, your whole life to just be able to stand up and for what you're saying to be different and mean something. And I
Mm.
fully enjoyed making that video because I had been watching the situation and like, of course, is it my most proud video to date? Absolutely not. But I think that's when I was like, oh, I love what I do. So it was
And you were so good at it. And I remember at the time, I wasn't quite articulate enough to explain, the nuances of it in the same way, the way that you did. Because I was like 2017. I was in I think it was my final year of university. So I was just really like not in that space. And at my university, it's not like there were loads of people that were into hip hop or anything.
right.
So, and I don't know how to explain this, but so we did have like a hip hop society, but you might not know this, but I feel like in England, when it comes to like hip hop, people who want to be like, more elite, they're like, we only accept a certain type of hip hop. And it's like always old school
Yeah.
New York hip hop.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the same. It's the same thing, kind of.
is it the same?
Yeah, because you have your people who consider themselves, if they like more like a boom bap type hip hop or something,
Mm.
I mean, like they have
And so,
common
yeah, so
level.
it was like if it didn't tread the line of like, we've all collectively decided that this is the amazing and acceptable hip hop, then the
Hmm.
dialogue wasn't there. So I
Hmm.
wasn't like talking about it with anybody. And I was really like lacking the nuance that you had in your video. And then that's when I was like, this is how I want every conversation I absorb about music to be, because you can delve in. Because what I think, one thing I like about your content is that you just accept the humanness of people. Like, sometimes people want to get messy, and that's okay.
Because I do love mess. Like, let's do it.
So you're never like, you never judge people for the messy shit that they do, but
No.
you sort of just practically acknowledge what it means. So it's like, okay, like, you're like, okay, Remy, you want to come for Nicki Minaj, that's fine. So we expect you to have written it. Like we expect you to bring Remy energy. And something I like that you do, and because I'm salty, so
Yeah.
when I'm like being a salty Bob, and I don't want to give anyone credit for shit, like I
Mhm.
like the way that you'll always be like, no, this girl is good at this, and this is her thing, and I want her to do her thing, and this one is good at this. And you really taught me to be like, give people credit, and not to let because you're always talking about this, but it's like not to let standing get you beyond the point of critical
Right.
appreciation and reflection.
Right. I think like I don't think people understand. I am a fan of all of these other girls, so that's why I was able to do that video because I was a fan of Remy. Like I remember when Remy went away, I was like, no,
Mm.
what am I going to do? Like I was a fan of. I'm a fan of people. I'm a fan of music, and so I'm able to just unpack it from that place. But also, I think that there are a large collection of barbs that underneath it all, they are afraid that Nicki Minaj is going to lose her position. I am not. I am not
And
scared.
and that's what I keep
I'm not scared of that.
that
That's people
energy. That's exactly the energy I keep trying to explain to people that I have, because I don't know whether you get this, but anytime anything happens with Nikki, there's always at least one friend in my DMs like, blessing, blessing, blessing. And I'm like, chill. It's okay.
it's
It's
completely
fine.
okay because I just think that at the end of the day, I think with the Barbs, there's a large percentage of them that really want that GP approval, but that's not their fault. That's Nikki's fault because she wants it. I
She does.
I don't want it. And I think it's because I'm weird and I don't, you know what I mean? I'm comfortable in being weird and being an acquired taste. I know that she's not, but I also know that at the end of the day, the people that love her are going to love her and the people that hate her are going to hate her regardless of the music. So I just talk about it as if I'm having a personal relationship with this woman who has never spoken to me in her life.
And that's why you're so good. And that's why your culture clinics are so good. And that's why you're, oh my gosh, don't shout at me. What's the series you do when you FaceTime when you like bring people
Oh,
in and
yeah,
you're
with
like,
the culture clinics. I was doing those at one point. I need to think of some more to do. They're
I
fun.
love those. I love when you feel like we need to talk.
And sometimes we really do. Sometimes we really, really
No,
do.
but that's what, and part of me, like, I always get this thing with guys. Whenever I know a guy like really likes me, because he'll start trying to like convince me that he's like a real Nicki fan, and I'm like, okay. But one thing I find irritating is like, I don't, like you say, like I don't care about Nicki having the GP approval. It
No,
doesn't mean shit to me whether or
no.
not everyone is bumping her, because it's not going to change what I feel when I'm reciting lyrics in my bedroom mirror. Like, it's not going to get between that ever. And it's like,
And that mentality alone is the crux of my whole channel, which is why everyone is, well, not everyone, but people do, the people that know about it really do like it, because I will talk about it like there's nobody in the room besides me and my fave and how I feel about what they presented to me. You trying to sell this music to me? Well, let me tell you how I
mhm.
feel about it. If I like it or if I don't and why. And people can agree or not, but start your own YouTube channel. That's okay. You can talk to her too.
Oh my gosh. I wish someone was trying to ask me. I know, do you know what it is? I always have legal advice for her. I always have like strategic legal advice. And I'm like, I know you don't know me, but is that gun licensed?
Yeah, but I thought things like that too. I was like,
I'm like,
"Mm,
Queen Sleeves.
like we love you, girl." But I think there's a piece of when you're a real fan of somebody, you don't demand perfection. You could be like, "Girl, you a fool, girl. Okay, you go ahead and do that." You know what I mean? Like I think about her like your older sister. That's like, she mad pretty and like she comes around and like she takes you out in her car, but she's a mess. I was like, you know what I mean? It's like my older sister did
It's
the
like,
same
oh my
thing.
God, what you
And
doing?
I may not like what you're doing right now, but I can appreciate this phase in your life, and then we can just move on. Like I think of her like just like
It's
that.
so hard because you can't show as like a barb, like you can't show weakness in front of like just general locals, because if they see any like doubt, that's why I'm like, I'm glad that I can go on my I have like a different Twitter account that's
Mhm.
just for talking about rap and whatever, and I can
Right.
go on there and I can express my thoughts and it's fine, it's a safe place. But in the
You think it
in the
is until
world,
somebody searches the tag at the wrong time.
mm,
Sorry, quarantine's a little crazy. We got somebody coming in, so my dog might go a little wild, but
oh bless you. What kind of dog do you have?
a Yorkie.
Aww.
Well, he's about maybe 7 pounds, but he thinks he's protecting me, which he's not.
I love that. And I love that you're really tall as well.
Yeah, I forget. I often forget. And I think a lot
I
of
have,
people don't know that, which is going to be weird when I start making like actual physical rounds. I'm like, yeah, well.
that's the thing. Like, I didn't realize how tall you were. And then you just mentioned it, I think, on like an Instagram post or something, or you said a comment. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah. I was a basketball player my whole life, so it was like that kind of like forged my connection to
Oh.
music. Was just I was just all alone, and I was wait for games, and this was before
Mm.
like I don't know. I think phones came along, but like you just had to sit and wait with your music to kind of hype you up, and so that's just kind of how I like forged my like physical connection to like music. Like if it makes me move and want to do something, I know it's good, and if not, like I have that nervous system's really built up to that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Um, so, okay, so I wanted to say to you, because one thing that strikes me when I see you speak is the fact that you could really actually, and you should be paid by these artists. Like when you're speaking to them one on one, and you're just being nice because you're sharing your thoughts. I'm sat there like, someone in these labels needs to find him and start paying him a serious consulting fee. Is that something you could see yourself doing? Or do you just want to keep it from a place of love because you love music and you just want to talk about it?
I can see myself doing that like in the future. But if you think about it, when I started YouTube, I think it was late 2016, early 2017. So there was no Meg. There was no Kiana Ledé.
Mm.
May wasn't like around. Like so much less was going on than it is now. And I'm only 26. And so it's like in 3 more years, there will be somebody else who's 18 who's trying to make a way. And who knows what I will have built that someone will take a chance on me. I'm in no rush. I'm not going to get hired to work with Rihanna. She's established. That's fine.
She's good.
You know what I mean? But one
The
day there will
Avon
be
lady.
somebody, you know what I mean? I have a whole lot of life. I'm so much life to live, so many more careers to kind of like just go through life and figure out that I'm like, one day it will happen. And I think it'll be dope. I think it'll be a good opportunity for me. And I'm in no rush to make that happen because all I can do is just learn more and learn more about the landscape and try to best assist whatever kid is probably sitting at home thinking one day I'm going to sing or one day I'm going to rap. You know what I mean? And that
I
probably would be.
promise you, you're doing that. I'm definitely that kid, like, despite the fact that I've been doing, like, I used to post songs on my SoundCloud when I was like 12. And so I don't do that anymore. But when I listen to your videos and I'm like, okay, and I hear the way you're speaking to like, I was just listening to your What I Want from Your Fave in 2020. And I like the way you speak to the girls. Like, I know you're still the same, you speak to them like they are that person that's just in their bedroom writing songs thinking, should I record this? Should I not?
Because
Like, it's
I
the
because
same.
I have an artist bone too, and I know that's where it all starts. And so, like when
Oh,
things go wrong, I hear it scream. Like when I can tell, like if when an artist is not happy, I'm like, no, because an artist wouldn't be happy with that. You know what I mean? Like there's just certain things
mm.
like you can tell. And so I speak to the person that doesn't have the money. My dog is going crazy. I'm sorry. Can you hear that?
No, it's okay. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure I can edit it out, and even not, it's just ambiance.
Oh, well, yeah. I speak to the person like I don't care about your money. I don't care about any of that. Here's what's going on. And my favorite compliment that I get from all my friends is that they feel like when they're watching a video, it's me talking as if I wasn't doing a thing. I want it to be as natural as possible. I don't want to curate a thing. Like I don't want to curate
Perfect.
anything. So I think that's what makes it easier on me is because I didn't come in doing a thing, so I don't have to necessarily cut on. I could just make it happen.
And that's what I love, and that's really exactly. I agree with your friends. They are very wise because that is exactly what comes across watching. And I guess that's why, someone all the way in London can be like, feel like we're friends because I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, my channel is it's uncomfortably me. At some point in time, I was like, "Am I sure I'm going to put this up?" Because you were being really candid right now. Because normally I would be more canned when I was younger. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch my YouTube like, "Who's this guy?" I'm like, "It's me. Sorry."
It's the same on me. I kind of have the opposite problem where I'm very extroverted. So a lot of people wouldn't be surprised to hear I have a YouTube channel. But the thing is, for me, is that I, people can get an external version of yourself, but that's not necessarily who you are when you're alone. And a lot of people don't realize with YouTubers, it's like, it's not like I'm doing this in front of a crowd or anything. It's just me
Yeah,
and a camera.
it's
So
me
it's
in
going to
one
end up
room.
being my voice.
Right, yeah. Eventually, but you have to work it to a point. Like the first time you call on that camera, you're going to be doing a thing and it's going to be uncomfortable when you watch you doing that thing a few years later.
Yeah.
But eventually you get so comfortable in a room that you have no choice but to kind of melt into yourself after doing it for so long and you just get over it. You step outside of yourself and just see you as this project and this product that has to go out and you get used to it.
I know. And that's what I like. And so I really enjoy it. I'm going to do it more.
You should.
Um, Thank
I
you.
encourage, like, honestly, I'm not a hater. Like, a lot of YouTubers are not very friendly, but I encourage anyone who's like not a celebrity because y'all trying to ruin the landscape, but give it if you really want to, give it a shot. Like, you know what I mean? What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work. The internet is so multiplicitous. There's so much money in ad space and ad dollars for all of us. We can all make something happen. If you really want to do it, just do it.
It
You know
can
what I
be
mean?
done.
Like, it's not that hard. And I know people think it's so hard or like people have this one thing or you may have something that's special, but I think everybody has something that's special. You don't know who's going to identify with what. Like,
And that's what I always try and say to people, just make it because your people will find it. You never know.
yes,
And when
yes,
people
they're
find
looking
it,
for
they're
you. They're
going to
looking for
stand.
you.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
It just became a point where I could see around end of 2016 there was a giant void in YouTube, and I don't feel represented, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was just like, I want to be a part of the media space in some way. And what's the easiest way to get that done? YouTube, fast. I just did it.
perfect. And it paid off.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Okay, so something I really thought I would like to discuss with you because I cannot for the life of me explain it to anybody, but you mentioned it
Ooh.
in your last video. The concept of having a fully realized era for an artist. How
Mhm.
do you describe that? And what are some of the best examples of an era that you can think of?
Robin Rihanna Fenty
Mm,
Loud from Rated R is
that
what
was really,
it is telling people, it is stepping outside of yourself, like what Gaga used to do and being like, I'm not doing that anymore, and just wearing something different, really changing everything over, and then having videos that suit a vision and songs that suit a sound, and it all has to interlock, and it can't all be too scattered or make no sense. So when I say
mm,
Rihanna went from Rated R, which was dark and it was more mysterious. And of course, after the Chris Brown situation, it was a bit of marketing if we're being real. You know what I mean? Russian roulette,
mm.
that whole single. And then when she was done with that, she went bubblegum pop, oh Nana, what's my name, S&M, only girl in the world, who's that chick, and she cut it completely over. The darkness was completely done, and she switched over to bright red hair and all this color. And I love artists who do that. It's a very antiquated thing to do. David Bowie did that a lot with his eras. You know,
Mm.
it's a very antiquated thing to do, and I feel like we haven't been watching pop culture really unfold in a way that it should have. Like when Katy Perry did Teenage Dream, that was a
Yeah.
that was a
What
moment. We
what
were
is this
watching a
culture that we
great
currently
moment.
have? What is it? I
Now
get
it's
so
just kind of like
confused.
everybody, because the internet space is so wide, everyone's just kind of being an experimental artist, and they're kind of going, we're yelling into the void, I'll do whatever you want, just like me. And it's like, I don't necessarily want you to beg me for your approval. I want you to show me what I'm going to take from you, and I'll buy it. Like, you have to be
Mm.
unapologetic. So when if I say a fully realized era, I mean, like, I thought Normani was going to come with the 2000s pop princess gig. I
I
thought she
thought
was going
that's
to
what we
roll
were
it out in a
getting. And then I got confused because then Tory Lanez popped up with Chicks Tape 5 copying her whole concept. And I was like, wait,
Well,
so
he always does that. But on the R&B side, he's been doing chicks tapes. I mean, yeah, this is his fifth one. He's been doing that for a while. But that was Normani's lane to just kind of demolish. I thought we were getting ready to go into Aaliyah, Are You That Somebody? And like I thought she
you
was getting ready
know?
to give me it, and apparently there was no plan.
And
And that's
the thing that irritates me is that you know that it was something because I don't know whether any Americans actually care for this show, but I watch Grownish a lot.
Mhm.
And I remember there was this episode where Yara Shahidi was all dressed up like Aaliyah style, and it was very
Right.
like da, da, da. And I got irritated because I was like, Normani, this should have been Baby Fat should have come back. You should have been the brand ambassador. It should have been a whole thing. We should have all had flip phones. I don't know, like some.
I love an aesthetic. I love a moment in time. I love that. Like I remember when Gaga and Beyonce touched each other in Telephone, and it was like, ah! Like, it was wild.
That's what you were
Like I
saying.
love that pop culture magic. I remember being a kid when Michael and Janet were in Scream together, and it was like they're dancing at the same time. Like it was nuts. Like they have no idea their power and their celebrity, and they just kind of everybody acts like an influencer. It's like none of you want to act like a god. We're begging to worship you. We're begging.
Literally,
We're
just
begging to worship
do
you.
it. Just do it. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, I find it so I don't know. Like, I find it so hard these days to really get into it because
It's
I'm
tough.
just like, stop trying to make me like you. Don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Like, I
It's
don't,
relatability above all.
yeah. And that, because I think people saw, because I think there was this pocket of time where people were going online to feel like, I don't know, they liked when they would go online and a celebrity related to them. Like, I call it the era of the like
I know
recycled memes
exactly what you're
because
saying. I know exactly
pardon?
what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying because I used to have a theory
Yeah.
about that. And when it was the Cardi versus Nicki time, it reminded me
Mm,
of when I was a kid, not even a kid, because I had this debate during college, like I would have it right now about Batman versus Superman. And the reason why
mhm.
people would always tell me, oh, I like Batman because I could be Batman. I can see myself in Batman. Well, I like my superhero super. I choose Superman. Like I like you coming from another planet. I like you showing me some skill that I could never acquire. I love superstar athletes like Kobe Bryant and Serena Williams and like, you know what I mean? People who you
Me
could never
too.
be, but you'll reach for the stars. And so I think Superman people choose Nicki Minaj because they don't feel the need to relate to her. Batman people choose Cardi B because it's more accessible.
Yes, and
And
I
that's the way
find
it
that
is.
pretty odd.
I mean, it's one of those things that it's an argument that takes its form in every generation. I just found it in Batman and Superman first, as far as ability goes, because everybody wants to feel like when they see a celebrity, it's I could be them. I can do that. I can.
I could be there.
I mean, even look at the American presidency rates right now. There's a large amount of people who feel like, oh, I really could be the president of the United States. If he could do it, I could do it, and it lowers the bar. And humans love a
The
low bar.
bar
And
is
that's what The Incredibles was all about. It was that guy syndrome saying we can all be super, and they took out all the superheroes because everybody wants to be able to taste what it's like for a day. That's the human condition, really.
everybody wants to, and I feel like something I've noticed, and this is, you know, and I always laugh about this because it's a little laugh I have to myself. It was
Mm-hmm.
like this. There was a time where I'm just taking Nikki as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Her Barbie aesthetic, you know, her chains, her whole look, everything. It was it was hers. And you made a comment one time about how people want they want the lifestyle. So that's what people get into rap for. They want the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like when everybody is doing everything, it's like now everyone feels like they can access that. So
Well, but I don't
and
think
that's what
people
I find odd.
understand that Nicki's aesthetic was deliberate and it was like the last thing to happen. Like the aesthetic didn't come and didn't fully hit until Five Star Chick and the Cypher. This is a person who
Mm,
wanted music and she felt like people aren't going to hear me until they see me. And so she decided to walk into the BET Awards, the Hip Hop Awards 2009 backwards and show them that booty. And people were
mm,
like, they looked at her first and then they heard the cipher and then it shocked their system. It was lightning and it took off from there.
mm.
And that's my thing is, sure, she's an aesthetic, but she's an artist.
And
And
that's when you mentioned the whole thing about not being worried. It's like that's why I don't worry about artists. Artists,
no,
I'm never sat there, you know,
no,
thinking, what are they going to do? How's it going to work? Because they're an artist at the end of the day.
right.
A lot of people aren't actually artists. Now these are the people who need to sweat and make and just watch your YouTube channel and hope that maybe you throw them a crumb of direction, because there are people who I think, and that's what I really find disheartening sometimes when I look at music, because I'm sort of thinking, but did you do this because you're an artist, or did you do this because there's a type of lifestyle you want? Because if it's lifestyle you want, you could just, you know, take a course, learn some skills, get yourself into an industry. In like 3-4 years, you'll make enough money to have the lifestyle you want. But if it's music and art that drives you, then that I should feel that, and that will be an enduring thing for you.
I think all things in the world work in tandem. So I think that there's always going to be people who do some things for one reason and do people who do some things for another reason. So you know what I mean? Like there's nothing you can do. We can't tell people don't make music
True.
if they don't love music because people do things they don't love all the time, and that's just the way it is. But for the
Mm,
people that really love music, their struggle is like if they make an album, does it hold on to their artistic integrity? And the one person who I don't know why, but when I was a kid, I always looked up these quotes, and Neo had a quote that said, "There's music that feeds your soul, and there's music that feeds your family." And as a writer, he knew the difference. And so I don't expect someone like Nicki for every track to be a soul bearing, or not soul bearing, but
mm,
one that feeds her soul, because to some extent. We do have to make commercial songs to be an artist on that level. What do y'all want to do? You want to
mm,
pop out Rhapsody size stadiums, or do you want her in arenas? So
mm.
there's a balance, and it's about creating the balance and finding the balance. And it's harder for older artists to do that. I think Drake just did a good thing with Tootsie Slide as to how to do that. I think he really likes that song, but I also think he really knew that the kids like to move their feet on the internet. So it's like,
Oh, someone's asked me onto their podcast to discuss Drake, and I always one thing I really love about you is that you're a critical Drake stan.
oh, I am. I lose
Um,
him, but I am very critical of Drake. I
and
push
that's
Drake.
kind of how I feel sometimes. I'm like, you're elite, but you're irritating me.
I love how human Drake is.
I know he is real. He is
Love
real
how him and
freaking
Drake is.
human.
If not on purpose, he is so transparent to me specifically. I don't know if a lot of people receive him that way, but because his music was soul bearing in the beginning. I always say only get one time to tell that story. Drake told me that
Mm,
story, and so when you listen to that story, those first couple mixtapes, you know who that kid is. That person who
yeah.
still does things like people don't make music the way Drake makes music. Drake has told us who he is and how he feels when things go down multiple times. Like it's very clear.
Mhm.
So I think that with Drake, I'm able to be critical because I've ingested the music, but I put in the work, not because I just want to, but because I genuinely always enjoyed it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I wasn't a gangsta rap fan, like I never was, but I liked the way Lil Wayne played with words. And then I was able to find the two artists that he had in, you know what I mean, at the time, and they were Nicki and Drake, and that's just kind of how it happened, you know?
Yeah, the same thing. That's how it happened with me as well. I have an interesting question. I don't think I've ever heard you talk about Bryson Tiller. Do you like Bryson Tiller?
Bryson Tiller, I do like Bryson Tiller. But I think that Bryson Tiller, how do I say this in the nicest of ways?
I love it when you do that.
I think that Bryson Tiller was not ready for all that happened. I think he really lucked up on a gold mine and a moment in time where lightning struck. And as an artist, I don't think he was prepared not only to create that, but to grow from that. I don't think he was able to really process the responsibility of being the superstar he became very fast.
I agree with you because I
So
remember there
music
was a
that
time with Bryson where people were like, Drake too, Drake, is this gonna happen again? And then it was like, no.
well, he almost got signed by OVO, but he chose not to. So Drake was looking for him. Drake was trying to get him. So that was a part of
Oh, Drake was trying to get him.
yeah, he was looking. Like Drake had flown him out a couple of places, but this was a kid who drove UPS. He was shocked. He was completely shocked. He couldn't believe any of this happened. And before you know it, he didn't even do like the small venues. He went straight to like Radio City Music Hall with her, like RCA. So he just became
Yeah,
this thing. And it's very hard to tell an artist. I mean, like I compare Bryson and SZA in this way because they're both these people that went in and made these albums that spoke to people, right? So SZA's first mixtape, she really got a lot of like she just went in and recorded two mixtapes. She didn't build her bones as a singer, and Bryson just went in and recorded this mixtape that kind of hit. SZA got like two projects before people expected something from her, but Bryson
mm,
just kind of hit very fast, and it was not an album. It was not a detailed body work. It was just this person just making this thing. Can you imagine only doing one YouTube video and it gets you 5 million views, and now people are like, "Do it again." You're like, "Do what again? I don't even know what I
it's
did.
like, dude, what?
Do
What did
what?"
I do?
You know what I mean? Like he didn't
Oh,
harness
that's
the
so
magic because he
funny.
didn't really know.
But
Can you
it's
imagine you put out one mixtape yourself, and the next year, you know what, you're on a set with Rihanna?
it's like, how did I even get here at this point?
Like he is the Mia Thermopolis, like fully Princess Diaries of like R&B. So I think I have lots of compassion for Bryson because I respect the person that says I need to take a step back because that's what SZA did. SZA was not going to put that album out until she was ready. So if
Mm.
we hear from Bryson again, I would love to hear him reinvent. But the problem with Bryson is they've already broken your sound down, buddy. Plenty of people doing that. We got A Boogie.
Listen,
We got Lil Wayne.
I reviewed some of my playlists on Spotify and I was like, this is just like decanted Bryson Tiller. How
Oh
has
yeah,
this happened?
yeah. We've got Black, we've got A Boogie, we've got plenty of people who are doing that. And
It's
so
like
with Bryson,
Bryson.
we've got better singers. We've got better singers than Bryson, and we've got better rappers than Bryson. We've got better rap singers than Bryson. So he would have to just look at the landscape and figure out how he's going to stand out, and not by making another don't.
No, it's
That
not
time is
by
gone. It's gone.
it's so imprinted in time. And one thing I like about these records is that I think they're the kinds of songs that the kids they're so imprinted in time that I feel like they'll be relevant to you when you reach that stage of like
Mm.
adolescent adulthood
Hmm.
where you're like effing up everything.
Yeah, there's nothing like turning on control after you just made a very bad decision. Like,
Listen,
if there were
all
any
I've been
answers to the
playing, I've
police,
been
think
playing so
now.
much with like my current personal circumstances. I
Yeah.
play so much Bryson, and I'm just like, "Ugh, I'm so
Oh, yeah.
understood."
Oh, yeah.
But I know that it's only because I'm 24. I'm sure, like 10 years from now, I'm gonna be like, "What the hell?"
No, I don't think so. Because when I think to like people who like were teenagers when like Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette came out, they immediately were just like, no, she still speaks my pain. I'm like, you, sir, are 40. You need to calm down. But like, like music does that to people. It really, it's like a time portal. Like you will know exactly where you were, what you felt like. That's why I'm so big on making like playlists and stuff and dating them. I don't need names of them. I date them because I remember who I was, where I was, what I was listening to.
Yes, that's
So all my
exactly what
playlist
I
dates are
do.
like April 2019, April 2018, summer 2018, summer 2019. Like I just name them a month and a date and a year. I mean, and then just so I know where I was. It's like a catalog, soundtrack, if you will.
And I love that. That's exactly what I do. I can't believe you're such a kindred spirit to me. I swear. Okay, well, I feel like I've kept you for a really long
I'm
time.
having so much fun. Do you have any more questions? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk.
Are you cool? I can keep you?
Yeah, yeah, you can.
Yay! Okay, I'm so excited. Honestly, I've been so excited to speak to you. And it's been, I was sat there and I was like, okay, because do you know, there's something really interesting about having, like you mentioned when you said when creators like just do things together, because
Mm.
I always find with my creator friends, it really is a matter of like, all we have to do is send a message because we're both on go, like we're both ready. It's like
Yeah.
you want to do it, let's do it, then it gets done. And I like being able to create things. So like you've really done something for me by agreeing to be on with me.
Oh, no
um
problem. I have sympathy for creatives and because it's very hard for us, and I know we know how hard we work on our stuff, and people don't understand like the work does not begin and end when you see your little fine finished product and you see your little 20 minutes or your little 40 minutes.
right.
I have probably thought about that for 3 weeks for you to get your little 10 minutes. So like we are stressed out, and like to ask something of someone else sometimes almost feels like, do I want to take this person's time when I already know what they're going through? Because it's tough.
Yeah,
Tough.
that's how I feel. And I'm
But
like,
it's
I'm
tough.
not gonna bother
But it's
him,
like
like he's got stuff to do.
no, but and and I know I on YouTube I come across very trite and very like I am no nonsense. And to some extent that's the real me. But yeah, I'm approachable. Like I'd like to make friends. Like, you know what I mean? I want to work. Let's do something fun.
I love that. I love that energy. So what? So I was. I hate this question because it's super cringe, but I just really love how passionately you talk about some records. So like, what are your like desert island records? Like, this is it. You can only listen to these for the rest of your time on the earth, and it's got to satisfy you. So what are you taking?
I'm going anything that is just like raw. So if I have to go off the top of my head right now, if I had to take R&B, I would take just SZA's Control album. I don't know if you know who Kiana Lede is, but
I think I do.
her latest album just came out. It's called Kiki. This is me doing my promo, holding up my stand card. It
We
is so
love.
good. It's so good. I love emotionally honest music. I feel like music is where people go to be themselves. So
Mm,
I love I love music with a story. So of course I love rap and I love words and I love wordplay and things like that. But I'm a big R&B head. I've always been a ballad head. Like when I was a little
I
kid, I
love
thought
a
it
good
was weird.
ballad.
I wanted to listen to Tony Braxton on the bus to school, and everybody else was listening to 50 Cent, and I'm sitting listening to vintage Tony. Like I've always thought I was weird. I was a cool kid, man. I would go back and give that man a high five. But
You know, that's what I keep trying to say to myself. I'm like, bless you, you were so
you
freaking
were
cool,
so
but
cool. Like, are you kidding me?
I was a loser.
Yeah, like you're for real. So let's say Desert Island. Right now, I would go Separation, Kiana Lede and Aaron Ray. I would say Summer Walker. I would say if I had to choose a Summer Walker song, I would choose what's the name of it? Not Off of You, although I like that one. It's the one drunk. I don't know, some drunk dialing. That one I would go with. I would go, let's say
It's-
Rihanna. I'd go for Kiss It Better and Love on the Brain. I would go like a Snow Allegra. I'd go Love Like That and like Someone Like You. Like I love things like that. I love anything where you're telling me a
Amazing.
story. I feel like you're really talking, like you really have something to say and it wasn't just somebody else's words. I love emotional honesty in my music.
That's the thing. Some part of me is like when I listen, because there's certain songs that really I can't listen to unless I'm going through it, like it. And then I listen to the song and I'm like, ugh. So there's certain songs that every time I'm listening to them, I think, damn, I hope I'm never this sad
What's your
again.
sign? What's your sign?
But my sign, oh my God, I was hoping to talk about signs with you. You're gonna hate me. So I'm a Virgo sun, Leo
I knew you were
moon,
a Virgo because that's
Scorpio
where I
rising.
was like, no, why are you avoiding your emotions? I have a Cancer moon. Let's poke the bruise. Let's go into it. Let's talk about pain. Like, I love music like that. I do not avoid those trigger songs. I'm like, yes, hurt me again. Oh, she hurt you so bad. I love it.
No, that's some
I'm very
cancer shit.
there.
I don't do that. No, my Virgo self is like, we
Yeah,
can't. These are
I have
cool.
things to do. I don't have time to be sad today. I'm like, oh, it's always time for a good cry. Let's do
Like
it.
I literally like schedule in sad time. I'm like, I'll do everything I need to do, and then we can be sad from like 7 until
Yeah.
11. And then
You schedule,
I'll,
yeah, you schedule your sadness. Just know you just said the most Virgo thing I've ever heard in my life.
no, but really, I do this, and then
Sad
I like
time from
play my
7 to 11
slow.
p.m. I cannot be sad right now, for it is 6:11. However, after I get my meal, we will sit down and be sad then.
Literally, and then I'll be like, okay, it's sad time, and then I'm like, ah.
That's so funny. No, I can listen to my sad music at any time. I
Oh,
like it.
I'm scared. Like some songs scare me. Some songs I'm like,
What do you like? Give me a song
I
that
can't
scares you.
touch that
Give me a
one.
song that scares you. Give me one of yours. I'm interviewing you now.
Oh,
What is
okay,
it?
okay.
What is it?
This is, I know a lot of people would really look at me funny when I say this, but Bryson Tiller's self-made album, I don't know what it
Is that the
is
second
about
one?
that album. It's not necessarily that his execution was like top tier, but you could feel, I felt kind of like a low key a bit of rage from him, sort of like,
Mm.
look, I
He
know
was
I said that
frustrated.
I'm
You
this
can tell.
understated guy that doesn't really want this, but seriously, don't fuck with me. And I like
No,
that
but I
energy.
love that you were listening to the lyrical content of that album, because I got to tell you, when I listened to it, I felt like I was looking to see the growth of an artist, and I did not get that. So I remember doing a video and being like, "Nope." Although I do love "Running Me Dry" because
Mm.
that
I
song is.
hate that song.
Of course you do, because you were looking for emotional honesty. I was just looking for a party. So like, you was going through what you were going through. I just wanted to party. So Bryson
I
gave me
was
what I
going
wanted with
through
that.
some shit. Like I would just graduated from uni and like I was trying to get into
Yeah,
like start doing law school and stuff
yeah,
like that. And then
yeah.
I was feeling like the underdog, but like you know when you feel like the underdog, but it's like, no, it's because you think I'm the underdog. To
Mm.
me, I think I'm the superhero here and I've got all of the cards and the cheat codes. But it's all
That
perception.
album was Control for me with SZA, where I just kind of.
Ah,
Yeah, I remember at
okay.
that moment I had been doing YouTube for 6 months. I knew I was getting a hold of something. Things weren't quality-wise where thought I needed them to be, but I was like,
Mm,
"Something's here," and, like, when your soul is restless, it looks for understanding, and music
yes.
provides that, and it's whatever album is out at that time, you're gonna latch on to, and that's what I love about it's all what artist can be vulnerable enough that they can hear me speaking to myself.
Literally, and that's how, and I think that's really
And
the
there's no
only
right or
time.
wrong answer for that. If that's Bryson for you, then that's what it is. You know what I mean? But that's what music does. It's chemical.
Mm,
It's
with
science.
it's definitely, and I always feel like I don't know, I just really don't know how to explain the sort of connection I have with Bryson's music. It's really odd because I don't even sit there, like
Yeah.
being I'm sure there's Bryson stands out there
Yeah.
and
There are.
I
They're
salute
still
them.
in their dad hats waiting.
Like, well
Dad
done
hat
for the hard
fandom.
work. But I'm not so much of like a stan more than whatever this man was doing, like whatever the hell was happening in that studio when that album was created. And the crazy thing is he's
Honestly.
24 as well when he
Yeah.
made it.
He was very young. Yes, he was very young. I
And
remember
and when he goes
me and him
and
are
then
the
he's
same
like,
age. I remember that. I remember that vehemently.
it just reaches me because with my career most barristers once, so this is going to sound so odd, so you do your law school, right, blah blah blah, whatever, you do your bar school, great great great, then you get called to the bar, amazing, but you can't practice law until you're accepted into a chambers. And a
Mm,
chambers isn't like a firm where they take in, let's say, like 30, 40 people each year. These people will only take two or one person. So out of like 800 to 1,000 people applying, there's only one person that's going to get it.
right.
So just to get to the next stage of my career, I feel like Bryson Tiller in the self-made album. So my entire barrister self, I would say, is completely fueled on like Bryson Tiller self-made energy, Drake pre 2013 energy, like
But
Nicki mixtape
that
energy.
right there is culture. You should be able to do the things you do and love the things you love, and although they may not be stereotypically formal, that doesn't make you
Mm,
less adequate for the job or what you're able to do. That's who you are. That is your culture. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why you
yeah,
love that music because those are the people that speak to you. You know, and that should be no issue. Like, I love
it
that
shouldn't be,
actually.
huh?
That's very human. That's human, and probably a profession where they don't necessarily welcome that, but who cares?
Yeah, and it's so hard to explain because I know with someone like you, I could explain exactly what I mean when I
Of course,
name those three artists and these specific these specific pieces of work and the specific times that these artists were making them. Because one thing I like about maybe Bryson, not so much, one thing I like about Nicki and Drake is that from the beginning, so from the time their first, fortnight in the game, did you tweet this? I think it was you or someone else that was tweeting about how Nikki was like 2 weeks in as a rookie and she was already saying, "You guys are whack. I'm better."
no, it wasn't me, but I did see that, and she was, but she should have been. I mean, at some point, that's the New York attitude. That's something have noticed, especially watching Love Island. I'm gonna bring everything back to Love Island.
No, bring it back to Love Island. Let's talk about the culture.
Yeah, but that's the difference in the culture. You guys are so all right. You guys are nice, nasty, but like New
We're
York,
fake as hell.
we are very like. If you walk into the room, you're going to have to say or do something to make me like you. Like, so Nikki came out looking like, I don't care if you don't like me, but nobody said anything. But that's the way New York is. So, of course, she had to come out swinging because that's the game.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
And
That's
in
where we're from.
England, English culture is built on self-deprecation.
Yes.
So if you walk into the room like I am that bitch, everyone's gonna hate you. Like literally, people are gonna, but they won't say they hate you. They won't say anything to your
But they
face,
will.
but they will hate you. But if you walk into the room, you're a Nobel Peace Prize winner, you've got 15 Grammys, like you've cured coronavirus. If
Right.
you walk into the room being like, "Oh, I'm such a klutz, I'm such an idiot," then everyone will be like, "Oh, you're so charming,
They
you're
value,
wonderful."
yeah, like the
But
play down. And New
what
York
I
is not like
struggle,
that.
yeah, but I can't play down because, and I think maybe this is why I relate to that music so much because in my experience, my mom was born she was not born rich. She was born Zambian and she was, I
Right.
don't want to use the word poor because my
Right.
granny did work very hard,
Right.
but let's just say where she is now and where she was then are two entirely different things.
Right,
And
and so you wear
now,
that proudly, and that's how I feel as well. Because my parents weren't born with silver spoons in their mouths. I mean, like,
right,
everything I am is to be celebrated. It's like, I don't care what I'm doing.
right. So I
Like,
can't
yeah, I can't put
self-deprecate
that down,
because
right.
I can't do that.
I
Like
come
if I
from people
start
my grandpa tells me
self-deprecating,
stories about them choosing which black kids they were gonna teach to read, and that makes
oh
me
my
proud
God.
of being an articulate person. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Put that down, you know what I mean? Like, that means a lot to people like us, and many people may not understand that, but I wear that
Mm.
proudly, very proudly.
So yes, and that's that pride. And so my barrister energy, I feel, is really tied up with those artists at that period of time because that's how I feel. I
Mhm.
can't walk into a room and put myself down because for me to do that would be for me to disrespect everything that's made me
Absolutely.
able to walk into the
Deny
room in
my
the first
deny
place.
my heritage.
Yeah, and there's not a
Yeah.
lot of music I feel or artists that I feel can communicate what it feels like to be in the room with people who don't think you're gonna go anywhere.
Didn't go anywhere, absolutely, and Nikki has reached to, I think, specifically more than what her aesthetic has done, because I think a lot of people are gonna say, "She's just a look at da da da," and then people, you know what I mean, they
Mm,
reduce her. She
mm.
has recruited a legion of underdogs,
I represent. Wait, was it? I I do this for the girls that never thought that they could win
and
because before they could
that's the
win.
mission. That right there is the mission statement, and I think that
Mm,
people I remember she had this a verse on Young Money Salute when I was a kid, and
mm,
I listened to it all the time, before basketball games because I felt under awarded in that regard too, and she was like, "I'm gonna need my badges and my ribbons. Maybe that'll make up for everything that I wasn't given.
mm.
Everything that I've given, I'll swear I'll never give in. Look at what I've been in, and this is just the beginning." You know what I mean? Like, she's always had, like, like her music a lot was like she was on this voyage. You know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
tap
And
into
that's
that, like feeling like you've got somewhere to be, like someone to be. You got to make yourself proud. Her music means that to a lot of people, more so than it means like any of the other stuff.
And maybe that's why sometimes Aubrey Graham and I have problems because I'm like, because sometimes I feel like with Drake, I'm like, I thought that's what you were. Because kind of like with Nicki, you could still see it. You know that the approval and all of that is still what she wants. Whereas I don't think Drake has suffered in that regard. You can tell me if I'm wrong because, you're smart. But I don't feel like Drake suffered for approval. So sometimes with Drake, I'm sort of
Okay,
like,
he
what
did.
is it?
He did because we watched Degrassi here.
Oh
So
yeah, I
early
never
on,
watched Degrassi. What is that?
no, we did. So, okay, Canada had this show, right, called Degrassi. It was basically like a soap opera, but that took place in a high school. It was
Okay,
nuts.
so we had a couple of shows like that in England. I'm
Right. But
contextualizing.
we only had one, and it was on the N, which was like the weird Nickelodeon's channel for teens at the time before it was Teen Nick. So those of us who had grown up during that time, we known him as Jimmy. He was a very distinct looking boy. He was half black. He didn't look the way African Americans look. So he was very distinct, but he was all we had to offer in the black department at the time. So he was our star. So we knew him very well. So I remember my friend came to me, my friend at the time in high school, and was like, yo, you've got to listen to this guy, Drake. And I looked at the cover of Comeback Season. I said, you have got me all the way fucked up if you think that I am going to listen to Jimmy from Degrassi rap. And then he played me Ransom, and I shut my mouth. Drake did have to earn his respect. He was Vancouver. He was not cool here. Yes, he was lame. Drake,
Really?
one time he skipped out to perform "Best I Ever Had" with Lil Wayne, and he tripped and tore his ACL, and was wheeled off of the stage within 2 minutes of touching it. He was very lame at one point in time, but his music always spoke better than he did. So it took a while for Drake to work out. It took a lot of money. It took a lot of deals. It took a lot of convincing, more than what we'll get.
Really?
Yes, yes, and that's
Ah,
why he's so hell bent
so
on
that
staying at
makes
the top.
sense now. Because
He
in
was smart.
England, there are English. You probably figured, but London UK rappers will literally bust it open for Drake, and
Yeah,
that's just the men. Like,
yeah,
period.
yeah.
It's so odd to me because I'm like, what are you guys? Why? Like, and that's speaking as someone that really like this man is elite to me, but I'm still like, guys, what are you doing? Like, why are we doing this? But I don't know what the hell it is about Drake that he's got this. Like, people will just say, take all of our
He's got
culture, have
he's got
it.
he's got the Mariah Carey where he's racially ambiguous enough that everybody feels like they're a part of it. And that's
Yeah,
pop.
everyone feels like they're
That's
in the
pop culture.
experience.
That yes, you could put Drake and a dark skinned black man's skin package and it won't work. Drake works in a Drake package because he represents so much. He is that community reach, that right dash of just sugar spice, everything nice, chemical X. It just comes across right.
It is, isn't
You
it?
know, everybody feels represented by it. Everybody wants to be it. Everybody wants a piece of it. Everybody, you know. And he spoke a lot about that in his last Rap Radar interview about how he feels
I
like
was
he
gonna
deserves
watch it,
credit.
but I was salty. Should I
I
watch
did
it?
read it. No, it's a great interview. But he spoke about how he feels like he's left out of the black accolade. And I didn't necessarily know that he wanted it, but he was like, nobody says I'm the first black man to this or first black man to that. But I think people don't do that because I don't know if people think it's possible for black people who are ingested as black people. It's
Yeah,
different
because
for
Drake
Drake.
isn't ingested in that way.
He's not exact, but that has opened up the world of possibility for him as an artist, which is why we don't give it to him. We love Mariah Carey and we know she has African heritage, but we don't, she ain't Nina Simone. You know what I
You
mean?
know? And there was Tory Lanez was making a joke on his quarantine live. I don't know why I was watching that. God knows, but I knew Drake went on it, so I was curious to see what Drake would do on Tory Lanez's Instagram live. Like, I just was like, what is Aubrey gonna pull out on this?
Right.
And Tory made some jokes about like light skin because Chris Brown had called Drake to say go on the live. So
Mhm.
Tory Lanez was saying something like light skin, da 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 da, and like Drake was like,
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't like that because and like I said, it's not for people to not say, because he's definitely a black man, and of course in the world he functions like that and he wears that, and that's something, it's his heritage, is who his father is, and he's just as much black
Mm,
as the rest of us. But when it comes down to appealing to a wider audience, the way Drake looks just works out for the world more than what it would be for someone. And it's the reality of the situation. Nobody asks for it, but that's what we're dealing with.
I
So
find it so just because I mentioned Tory, do
mhm.
you remember that period of time where, because I don't know, maybe you can enlighten me, but what this whole concept, so this whole like Toronto creative thing and like scene, I saw a couple of tweets, people talking about how it's imploding and how it, like there was it reached the peak and now it's just not it anymore. But just from someone who absorbed, I saw when Tory Lanez was like coming out and doing all of his remixes and whatever, he had like a real distinct sound that I was being told is like a Toronto sound or whatever. So do you think Drake is concerned with maintaining that kind of a sound, or is he like still a kingpin in Toronto? Like, what is that? And I know you're not living in Canada, so maybe you don't know,
Right.
but I'm just
No,
curious.
no. I think from my perspective as to what I've unpacked from it, and a lot of it comes from that interview, that Rap Radar Drake interview. Well, I'm
Mm,
not trying to give them any more promo, but he did speak about like why the music was different from the music at that time. And it was about like, and I fully believe that artists, I love hearing about where artists create their albums. Like
yeah.
visionaries go places to create an album. Like, and that's why when Nicki records her songs in LA, they sound one way. And then when we record them in New York, we get good form, we get hard white, we get the ones
Mm,
that we want, because that's where she made her bones, right?
mm.
Drake's music is very Toronto. It's cold up there. It's slow up there. They, you know what I mean? Their cuffing season lasts longer. It's cold. They're
No wonder that
with
he's in his
women.
feelings so much.
Right. They make their music as the soundtrack to their experience, which is why it sounds different. I don't think that the music is. I don't think that the Toronto movement has lost its impact, but I do think that, like everything else, once you influence the culture, you've influenced it. And so people have taken what they've wanted from that sound and they've advanced it and they've changed it and they've done what they wanted. So, in order to remain influential, that sound has to change. But Drake didn't reach back into Canada around more life. He came to the UK. So, in a
Yeah.
way, he didn't really advance the sound. He kind of said, well, I'm doing grime now
And we're here. This is
and we're
where I'm.
here. Exactly. So I think in order for that sound to be advanced, which I'm sure it is, all he would have to do is just reach back into finding what the Toronto talent is. And I'm sure it's there. He's just got to tap into it, which I'm sure he's good at doing. But I don't think it's dying. I just think that Drake took his mind off of it. And that's got to be a lot of pressure to feel like you're not in charge of not only, an entire country's representation of hip hop R&B music, but
Mm.
it's got to be a lot. I can't imagine it. So maybe he wants to take his mind off of it and find another influence and not deal, which I think is totally cool. He gave us The Weeknd, Majid Jordan. He put a lot of people on from OVO that you can't be upset about. If he's done nothing else, he's done that.
True, he has. He has.
Because he doesn't
Okay.
know Canada much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at some point, he's done a
Mm.
lot. Like,
No, he does, and that's true. And okay, so I wanted to talk about something just really random that
mhm,
I've noticed, and I'm thinking maybe this could be what I might talk about on my YouTube, but I'm scared.
sure.
But so the UK female rap like scene
Mhm,
is there, but what I've noticed is I feel it's like where America was when Nicki started. It's
You
sort
think?
of like people, I don't know, I just don't feel like, I feel like the girls feel almost as if they, I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like you said, being great into the void. I don't know what it is about what I think in England people are like looking at America thinking, oh, let's just copy that, let's look like them, let's sound like them, let's wear the same wigs, and then we'll get the same success. But I don't see the same traction. So I was just wondering, first of all, do you have any experience or have listened to any female rappers out of the UK, or are you interested?
Well, back in the day when Azalea Banks did that record with Shiesty, I was like, ooh,
Mm.
cool. Um, I would say now. I think the only UK rappers, like I know a lot about Lady Leisure or Lady Lesher, whatever her name was, but I've known about her since Queen's Speech. Um, of course, we know Stefan Don, we know Miss Banks. But I really love the UK female rappers because I grew up in New York and I love Caribbean influence. So
Okay.
I eat that right on up. Like you can play
That's
music for
what's
me right now, and
interesting.
I'm yeah, Lisa Mercedes, like I'm into it. Um, yeah,
Okay.
I grew up on that.
That's good.
I grew up
Maybe
on that
that's
music.
what,
Totally.
maybe, because I can definitely, because that's one consistent theme in the sound. And so
Mhm,
part of me is like, and the thing I like about the Caribbean sound is that,
mhm.
I mean, yes, masculine energy is there, but I think the female, like powerful female energy, especially female sexual energy, is really celebrated in that sound. And
Absolutely.
there's
That's the
space for
goddess.
it.
Spice is a goddess. Like these women are goddesses to them. Yeah.
And that's what I'm like, I love that. And I think that's what I'm most excited for. And I think, yeah, because I was just wondering what you picked up on, because I was really concerned to think that, because there is like a delegation of, I use the word rap loosely,
Right.
um, but it is very reminiscent of that sort of let's throw paint at the wall and hope something sticks kind of
Yep.
rap, where it's like let's just shout loud things over and over again, hoping that one of them is going to be like a quotable, and then it's going to become like a meme or something, and we'll be the next City Girls. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. But I also
no,
think it's very hard because the reality of the situation is New York does it to an extent. The perception of hip hop is it's got to work here for it to work anywhere. And
it's
Americans have a chip on their shoulder about what they let be cool. You know what I mean? It's
mm,
great for people to kind of be like, grime, but some people still think that grime is just not worth it. But that's coming from hip hop being seen as a lyrical sport. Now we have more hip hop that's less lyrical, so people were more open to grime.
I
And
can't.
but I also think grime is lyrical. I think that people just don't have the complex mind enough to want to ingest that. Just because a flow
Mm.
doesn't change doesn't mean that, like Meg does that. She will hammer a flow down and not change it. But there's a science in being able to fit what you're trying to say and get the right mathematical amount of syllables to get your message across while not changing your flow. That is an
And
art.
that's what I like.
That is an art.
And that's exactly why I like grime as well. So I'm
Right.
glad you picked up
Right.
on that.
So there is talent there. But I think in the female rap spectrum, it's just very hard because everybody processes and runs everything through whatever poppin' New York female rapper is the number one. It actually,
Mm.
I haven't seen it break away from really New York dominance until Megan the Stallion.
That's
And
what I've been saying.
even still, I'm waiting to see if they're going to allow Meg to really be competition or if they're going to put her in more of the Trina category where it goes, oh, she
Mhm.
does a different thing. Because I think she is a great rapper, a valid rapper, and just as good as if she's from New York and anywhere. But I think
And that's
for
what
a
I agree.
UK artist, for a UK, like if Miss Banks, or if like it's just so many girls on the docket that it would have to almost be completely different in order for it to hit right because too many people are doing the same thing. And so when too many people are doing
Mm.
the same thing, the masses are going to go towards whatever's promoted the highest. You
What's
know,
the biggest of the same?
what's the biggest thing? What are the masses saying? And so I would love to see more difference. I love seeing Tinashe reach out to Miss Banks for Die a little bit because you get to see she can ride a beat. She is good.
Mm.
She's good, and it has nothing to do with, you know what I mean, anything other than that she can rap. So I don't know. I like the difference in the UK rap, but I think if it's always going to be judged by American standards, and if that is even the goal, then you're always going to be a step behind because we're cranking it out. You know
That's
what I
the
mean?
thing,
Like,
and this is the thing I keep trying to say, because I've got this, I feel like London as well. London in itself, it's not huge. It's, we're no New York, but it's still enough of a space that you can basically bring together a large enough group of anybody, with if you focus yourself on what you're trying to attract. And I feel like what Miss Banks has been doing well is she hosts like parties, kind of like the way Meg does.
mm,
and I've been like there on Twitter, like trying to get into one of her parties. But what's good about it is that she's directly connecting with people right there in front of her who will support her. And it's, it's better to do, like, I would say it's better to do 5 shows a week in your own hometown than to do one show in America for people who may not know you, and that's all your energy is focused on that. Whereas in
Yeah.
your own space, you've got people who rep you, who will support you. And I think maybe if London and the rest of the UK, America, yeah, we love you guys, because I feel like we owe you guys a lot, if not almost everything.
Don't give us too much. But yeah.
No, but I mean, in terms of people, there is a blueprint and there is like a stamp, but I feel like there should be.
There is a blueprint to art because people care about what's lucrative. Humans are
True.
every one human being is a lightning strike of an event. Nobody is different, and there are billions of us. So even saying that, I get people think that Americans are the blueprint, but that's because that's lucrative. I wish you guys and people would do more of what's them. That's all I complain about on YouTube all the time is stop worrying about what works. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I would just hear more of that influence and more of like, what is your story? What do you guys have to talk about? What is it like? Like, I am a person that I think that a lot of people are lazy listeners and they don't want to learn
Mm.
culture. But for people who want to learn culture, I think the same way that you learned what Nikki was talking about, we could learn what somebody else was talking about. You know what I mean? Like,
I
what?
challenge you. I used to have this French boyfriend that taught me all this stuff about French rap. I really challenge you to react to a French rap song and like get the lyric like
My
translations or
pet
whatever.
peeve when foreign rap is when they're trying to do their their interpretation of what is happening right now. Like if they're trying to just do whatever ASAP Rocky did in 2013.
No, I promise you, it's not. It's real distinct. Like it's deep. Like they have their own
They
like
have their own thing. I think
Tupac
I've
beats
seen some
everything.
German rap before, but yeah, I like things like that. Things that's like just
It's serious.
organic because it's important for things to be organic.
It's
And
gotta
then,
be organic.
well, nothing
And
is
like
anymore. It's
so that
everything is just
people
very
can learn.
GMO. That's the sad part.
Say that again?
Everything's just very just really manufactured. It's processed.
I know.
It's got intention to work. And I love albums where I feel like, oh, you had no idea what you're doing, did you? Had no idea what you were doing, and this is magic, you
So
know?
here's something I'll put to you on that vein, taking it back to like my music and all of that. So to give you some context, I write things down. I write poems, I write songs, I write all the time, blah blah blah. Like I love spoken word, da 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 da. And so when it comes to like being like, okay, now it's time to make a song, I'll be like, all right, song time.
Right.
And I know the technical skills, I know how to construct a song, I know all that stuff. And then I sort of get lost in the fact that now I'm creating and delivering something and I don't want it to suck. Whereas I'm thinking if I could just jump on this, and if I want to do some spoken word in some places, I could do that. And if I want to sing in some places, I could do that. And if I want it to be instrumental and ambient in some places, I could do that. But then I get freaked out. So it's like actually happening in real time. So what
It
would you
is.
say? Would you say people should just be like, make it and then put it out? Or do you think to an extent people should sit and consider how do I want this to come out and all of that sort of lateral thinking?
I think and with that thinking is why I relate to artists because it's kind of like Inception. The way they feel about their music is the way I feel about talking about their music on YouTube. Like I feel the same way about my videos.
Mm.
And like you can get paralysis by analysis. Am I saying the right thing? Do I like how I said that? Am I funny in the moment? Like, do I need to re-record this? Is it perfect? And my favorite thing to say to myself is shut up. Like you got to get out of your own way and let the art breathe. Just do it, say what you've got to say and then fine tune it after. But you've got to get it out of you before you start curating the message because nobody writes just the perfect song, just straight up, no
Yeah,
rewrites,
like,
no like no one does that. So I think it's important to like just get it out of you and then you find out what you want to choose, like what you want to change and know when to take your hands off stuff. Know when to, and don't be afraid of it not being perfect because it's never going to be perfect to you. Trust me. If you're the one making it, you will see every flaw. but people tend to have a different lens when they're looking at or hearing your music or watching, whatever you're doing. So
They
I think that's why
really do.
honesty is what's most important in that moment. You can polish anything, but you can't make something fake be real.
It's true. That's actually a real true thing because,
Yeah.
and something I've been researching, and people who are, I'm sure people who are already artists already know this, that you can sort of work on something and then send it or collaborate with people to have it polished and mastered and mixed and
Right,
all
right.
of the bells and
And like,
whistles. So
did you ever go on LimeWire when you were a kid? Did you guys have LimeWire where
I
you
lived on LimeWire.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. When they used to put out those unfinished versions of songs by accident that would get leaked from the studio, we used to hear
Mm,
everything before it was intended. Like that's how we built our bones with music. Is like we were in the studio. We used to hear like the rips and like it
it's
wasn't mixed
true
yet,
though.
and, like, it wasn't done yet, and then we get this polished version, and I would be like, "Why did you do that? Why did you change that? Why is that verse different? I really like the original." And I think it's because when everybody, by the time they're finished shining it up and putting a bow on it and making sure it's perfect, they probably already ruined it, in our opinion.
Mm, it's
So
true.
I don't know. I like things to be a little bit more. They can be polished and honest at the same time. There's a fine line, but you can't really clean everything up too much because then it's just kind of like, whatever.
It's true. I
Mhm.
find such a dichotomy between my barrister world, which is so, serious and like
Right.
ordered and there, and then like this other creative world. And like, because when it comes to music, because I wrote on my Instagram stories to my friends, I was like, I'll just tell you guys now, my songs can be very honest and potentially disrespectful if that's how you take it, but it's
Right.
just how
Right.
it felt at the time. And once I've written something and like made it, it's made. I don't really know how to change it because I'm not in that headspace anymore. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I always find that the whole concept of like going and polishing something and doing something over
You
is
just
really
gotta know when to say that was the moment in time and move on. If I could go back and re-critique and re-edit every video that I've ever put up, I probably would. And I would go back and do it right now. But at some point, you gotta let things be imperfect because that's sometimes what people need. Sometimes you just gotta be able to
imperfection is
say
important.
something that's not right, but it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like it creates a more honest bond when people feel like they can see your imperfections. If you come out and you're too canned, it doesn't really. No one really wants that.
No, nobody really does, and
No, people like real people above
that's
all.
the
That's why influencer culture is
scam.
so big. You know,
But
people
that's the
like
thing
the
I find.
illusion of real people.
Huh?
People like the illusion of real people. Let me say that.
Yes, that is the truth.
Yeah.
Um, and speaking of someone very, very real and interesting, Doja Cat.
I actually was supposed to go to her concert on the 1st, but it got moved because of Corona. So we're trying to wait for a reschedule date later in the year. I love Doja Cat, but I am so shocked that Doja Cat is Doja Cat.
I know you said in the last video. I think
I
I kind of
cannot
am
believe
too
it.
because I was like, okay, cool, Doja Cat. Like I knew she was there. I knew like loads of guys thought she was really fit from the Move video, which I thought was hilarious. Like I was like, cool, Doja Cat. And then next thing I knew, I blinked and I was like, whoa.
I knew about Doja Cat back when she put out, I think it might have been her first song. It was called So High when I was in college. And it was
Oh, I
awesome, but
got
I
that on
thought
one of my playlists. I love
right.
that.
I just thought she was a girl with a song and like, that happens a lot. Girl with a song. Okay, cool.
Mm,
But then I started paying attention to her like on SoundCloud. And while nobody was paying attention, Doja Cat was making music and it sounded like Doja Cat music. And like a lot of people will know what I'm talking about. Like when I say that, she had a very distinct sound with what she was doing. But
hmm
to see her not completely abandon that, not necessarily in sound, because I feel like at the end of the day, they give you songs and you know what I mean? They give you songs with hooks and you do your thing on it, and that's fine.
hmm
But to see her not completely drop her integrity with the way she handles these songs, the way she raps is the same. The way it's all the same. It's all still her, but it's just different. And I think that if anybody wants to watch how a creative does something or takes the dash of Hollywood without losing themselves, I would say Doja Cat. Like that is a very big
It's
creative
really interesting what you
journey
said.
that she's made to still, I feel like she feels like herself, and a lot of people wouldn't, to have done this so fast.
Yeah, and you get that sense from her, and you
Yes.
get it from how she interacts. I'm like, yeah, she's chill.
So weird. She's still like she's like a scene kid. She's still an anime kid. You know what I mean? She's still very offbeat. You know, she's still like Bottom Bitch was like an indie song. She's still got that little bit of like rocker chick, that little bit of Lil Uzi Vert. She's a multiplicitous human being. And you feel that in her music. And because she is packaged up like a pop star, nobody's pigeonholing her to a rap
Mm,
box. So she's got a lot of real estate to play in. It's just that when she starts wanting rap clout and accolades, are people going to see her that way? That's what I want to see.
Because
People
that's
are going
exactly
to
it.
see Say So. People are going to see Say So like Super Bass.
Oh yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
They're not going to see it like, oh, she's a rapper. They're going to see it like, okay, you made this cute little pop. Even though she rapped, they're not going to care.
Speaking of people who we were or weren't expecting to make it, Azealia Banks.
Oh, my queen.
Same. That's how I feel. And I'm just so distressed.
I say this with Azealia. When you make something I like, I will worship you like the queen you are. But I will turn my headset off to you until that day comes. Like, I can't deal. Like, I can't. It's too painful because I think we're all attached to the potential of what was, but we have fallen asleep and woken up, and it's been 8 years since 1991.
Oh my, no, you're like, 8 years,
If
shit.
it hasn't happened, the chances are getting slimmer, doll. So I just kind of feel like you're just going to be my acquired taste that I love, but I don't necessarily know if it will. And that's not no slight on her because she's talented, but being successful in the music industry has nothing to do with talent. Talented people become nothing every day.
Oh my God, it's so true. No, but I get so, like the other day I wanted to listen to, I think I wanted to listen to Van Vogue or something. And I was like, what happened? I was like, why?
You made too many people angry during a time where people didn't know that making people angry was a death sentence.
Mm.
We didn't know anything as much as we know now. You know what I mean? When she started making people mad, they still had a vice grip on the industry. If Azealia Banks would have came out now, she probably could ruffle as many feathers. She would be the female 6ix9ine.
You know, Azealia Banks really walked so 6ix9ine could run.
Exactly, because all she did was ruffle feathers, argue, make people mad, and then she was putting out music. But now she would be able to that ruffling feathers, all that web traffic that she was garnering would be seen as liquid gold, and people would put money behind her and want to put her music out. See, that would make her money rather than stop her bag in just
God, you're
3
so
years.
right.
So she didn't really do anything necessarily wrong. It was just 3 years too soon.
It really was.
It was just too
really
soon.
was.
Because now people don't care whether it's good traffic or bad traffic. They just care about traffic. Azealia Banks at one point had a lot of traffic. But that made people feel like the negative press made people feel like they didn't want to put money behind her music. That now would be like, somebody get this girl a microphone.
You know, so we can amplify it.
So we can capitalize on it. Right. So
But she's still banned from Twitter, I'm pretty sure.
she should be.
There were some dark times.
She should be. She should
be. So speaking of 6ix9ine, you said in your video about how what happens when he comes out of jail is going to be, you know, like society.
And here we are.
The culture's time to step up. But tell me why.
I want everybody that commented saying that I was dumb about even including him in that video, I want them to give me my flowers right now. Because that man is right now out of jail.
He's out of jail?
Yes, he got out because of Corona. He's already been kind of sort of wreaking a little bit of havoc on Instagram.
Oh my God, are you lying?
No, I'm serious. That's what's happening. He's out.
He's going to be like number one in like 2 weeks.
Allowed to record. We are really going to see it.
He's allowed to record.
Yes, that's like a real thing. And
This is
that's
going
why
to
I was
be
like,
honestly
I
one of
can't
the
believe I
most.
was right, but I was right, and now I want him to try it. I want to see if people are going to allow it. I need to see that. That's a major case study.
Are people going to allow him to come back? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because hip hop has been so driven by street code for so long
Mm.
that this is completely against street code. It's completely against New York culture and what people expect for and from a gangster rapper. If he is able to come out and make gangster rap, this is a page in the history. This is the turning of the page.
He will be, he's so good. He's already got it recorded and laid if he's out. No, I really solidly believe it's going to be. Do you know why? And I have a theory. And I'm just saying this just not because I have any experience in this area, but I think when everyone was like roasting him about like snitching and like da da da, don't snitch, don't snitch. At the end of the day, everyone's got an audience. So
And
I'm
he
sure
didn't
there's people out there who are like,
he never asked hip hop to be popular. He asked the internet.
right. And the internet, listen,
Doesn't care about your little regional rules. And I think that is why it's going to be major.
all the internet will see is he was out in April. He was out by April.
And the game would have once been somebody would have had to go out and support you in order to get you to, like, you know what I mean? Like to buy your album, they had to support you. They had to be an exchange of cash. It was a transaction. Now people are just going to be like, well, what is he talking about? I need to hear 6ix9ine's first record. It's going to be huge because people are going to want to hear it.
And he'll deliver. He will 100% deliver.
I don't necessarily know because the sound is already old. His sound is temporary.
Oh, sugar!
Like,
I forgot about his sound.
It's not the sound no more.
You know what? I confused.
We have our New York drill.
With his sound.
Yeah, New York has a drill sound right now, and he's not of the time. And I don't know if people are going to want to hear him talk. I don't even know if he can make music about that. He might go straight to Spanish music. He might, or just become like a Lil Pump, kind of safe.
Oh, freak! He's just gonna go to Spanish music.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna reach back into the hip hop bag because I don't know if he can even legally be allowed to make music talking about pistols and
the lawyers are like different genre, please.
Right. Yeah, that's not happening.
Oh no, you're actually so true. So New York is on a drill sound, you say?
Yeah, we have a big drill movement. New York is doing a lot right now. New York has got their they got their drill movement. New York has also got right now we've got a drill movement. I'm drawing a blank because I was going to say something, but we've got a couple things going on. We've got a couple things where it's like really weird. You've got your women, and then the women are doing a completely different thing, and then we've got our down underground basement kind of like boom bap like Griselda and Don Q and like all these people like Smoke Dizza. We've got a lot going on in New York where there's a couple tracks going on to track, but the one that's hitting is the drill. And Pop Smoke just died, but people are waiting to see Bobby Shmurda get back out of jail right now.
Yo, Bobby.
So I think Bobby's gonna be able to set the tone as to what we are going to listen to. I don't think I get that privilege.
I would say England's Bobby Shmurda is. Do you know J Hus?
No, I've never heard of him.
Oh my gosh! Okay, I know everybody from London who's listening to this is probably screaming into the void, but it's just because J Hus is like, I would call him our Shmurda because he came out at a time that was quite seminal for a lot of us. You know, it was like university time. It was like, and his songs are just bangers. Like he himself is like I don't want to say he's a mess, but he himself is just a character. And he calls himself, he says, he has this line where he goes, "I'm an ugly man making sexy money." So he's like, he knows that it's not like his face or like anything. It's his stature. It's his movement. It's the way his confidence and his like energy. And he kind of has that sort of, I don't know whether I'm romanticizing Bobby Shmurda because he had two huge hits and then went to jail, but I'm saying it from like what I could see. is that it's like the sort of Midas touch when all you have is like a kid in his neighborhood with his
Yep.
friends, but suddenly what comes out
Yep.
of it
Yep.
is
Yep, and they expose their home culture. We get to see like the cultivation of like that spirit. It's like a moment. It's like a lightning strike. I love that about. Then that's what happened with Bobby. Bobby wasn't doing anything other than what he was doing, and it just hit. And
mm,
we love things that appear that way, even though a lot of they try to make things look that way now. You know, like Cardi B doing her 24 questions or whatever, 72 questions with Vogue in a Queen's apartment. Ma'am, you have a mansion. Why are you in the Bronx? Yeah. Why are you in the Bronx, ma'am? You have a mansion. Show us you're rich. But it's like they're trying to curate that, the humble beginning now, which is,
which isn't the same.
no.
So I'm planning post Corona. I know I've wanted to go to New York for forever. And I just have this vision of New York, of you guys having lots of live hip hop events. Is that just a dream I've made up?
Yes.
Aww.
Yes, yes, and no. A lot is going on in New York. And as New Yorkers, we are not impressed ever. Like we're really not impressed. So it's hard. I will say that there's always something to do. But if you're looking just to find underground hip hop, you probably would have to know who to talk to. Please do not speak to me for that. But like
It's like, I
you
do not
would
have
have
the
to know who to talk to
information.
and like where to go. And then you'd also have to, I mean, make sure it's somewhere you want to be because New York is not as safe as, everybody would like it to be. But yeah.
Oh, I really want to do events. Like, I want to do hip
You
hop events.
can
Like,
though. I think, post corona world when we can all like be around each other again, you'll always be able to look in the area during the time and just check like what's going on at the venues, like at Brooklyn Steel or at Webster Hall, or like you're always gonna find something. You're gonna find somebody somewhere. It's more or less like New York is just so vast that you almost need to know where to look, or else so much will be going on that there will be nothing for you to do.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I just really like, I have this whole like New York thing. And
Everybody.
then,
And then you
but
get
I'm scared
yeah.
because it's such a huge place. Um, okay, well, I feel like are you sure I've taken up so much of your time? I can't believe you've just sat and talked to me for an hour and a half.
I will totally do this with you again if you want to do this again. This is so fun.
Yes, I will. I
You can always
will.
DM me and we can always set up a time where like we can totally do this again. This has been awesome. So thank you for the opportunity and thank you for getting to know me and thank you for allowing me to get to know you so we can do a lot more of this because I think we work well together and this is kind of fun. We can talk about some stuff.
Oh, thank you. Oh my God, this has really just made my whole life because, yeah, I'm definitely a stan. So I really enjoy everything that you do and represent, and your thought provoking content and your inspiring content and everything. So doing this with you has been amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And like I say, I know you see it like all that. And it's still weird for me to have people kind of see it like that. But realistically, I just see it as I'm just a kid who likes things and talks about them.
And you relate to those, and we're the same. So that's
And
why.
that's it. There's nothing more, nothing less. When I like things, I obsess over them and talk about them. And that's all I got to do. That's all I
That's
do.
amazing. And that's all it should be. And as long as it's that, then it's going to keep being amazing. So thank you very much.
Well, best of luck with everything you're doing. And I hope to get a call from you when who knows, we got a Nicki era coming up soon. Like maybe we can like
Dun,
do
dun,
something and
dun.
we can talk about that when that happens. I'd be down to talk about that with you. And like, I'm down. We can definitely do this again anytime you want.
Yay, let's do
Yeah.
it. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I will message you. And everybody has had all of the social information and following, but it's 20 days of June on everything.
Everywhere.
Okay. Bye bye.
All right, bye.